Hello, hello, hello. We are back again. Guess who is back? Triggered AF, the podcast. Listen, this is going to be a truly phenomenal episode. So I hope y'all ready. Go ahead, share this already. Share this with our trigger happy fam. We're about to get into some things. Now, y'all know my amazing co-host, Dani. Today, I want her to introduce our special guest. And I will pass it on over to you, Dani.
Hey, Trigger Happy fam. So today we have my favorite human on the planet. No, sorry, Alicia, I love you, but you know.
No, listen, that's how it's supposed to be. I can't have sex with you or give you children.
So he's my favorite human. He is my fiance. He's the father of my daughter, Isabel. And outside of all the wonderful things he is to me, he's also the co-founder of Fly Supply Clothing. He does lots of other things. I know you don't like to be called an entrepreneur, but that's exactly what you are in real life.
Awesome.
So welcome my baby daddy, Reggie Bourdeau.
Fiancé. Thank you so much for that introduction. I appreciate everything that you guys have been doing. Thank you for the platform. I think you guys are doing an amazing job. I was a little apprehensive on doing this because, you know, I like to play the back. I like to be
right, but he is like our biggest supporter, y'all. Like
our biggest supporter from day
silent investor, okay?
And with that being said, I'm like, okay, outside of just supporting behind the scenes, why not do something in front of the camera and give me my real support? So I appreciate you for acknowledging me and giving me this opportunity.
Yeah.
Listen, and I'm just grateful I get to be here along for the ride because y'all, I get a first class, not even economy, y'all, a first class seat to what it looks like to be loved properly. And I really do love that. And I appreciate so many of my girlfriends, literally 95% of them are loved extremely well. And you become who you're around most of the time. Like, show me your friends, I'll show you what your future looks like. And it really does like just make me smile from the inside out to know like, yo, my friends' partners are like, those are them boys, and not in a disrespectful way, like grown ass men, of course, but just do so well at not being controlling, not having a desire to like beat your women down, but literally extra excited to see, how do I support her? How do I love her? How do I ensure that she knows that whatever she needs, I got her? That for me is beautiful to witness. And this first class front row seat, because I'm in 1A, y'all. Well, maybe Izzy is 1A, but she don't understand just yet. So
you can hold on your lap. You can hold on your lap.
There we go. She could be the lap baby. But no, it really is beautiful to witness. And then for your children to see what it looks like to have partners and parents who love each other, who communicate to each other in a manner that doesn't seek to win, but that is excited to see, how can I support? How can I provide a place that you feel comfortable with? So it's beautiful. That whole spiel to say is beautiful. I love y'all.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We always appreciate the support of our friends and our family, because they say it takes a village to raise a child. It also takes a village to sustain healthy relationships, especially romantic ones.
Absolutely.
Your friends and your family play such a huge role. And I know nowadays we kind of like to downplay the role they play, but I mean, if you have a support system in your personal life, just as an individual, I mean, you can just imagine just how vital and crucial it is to your relationship. That ecosystem in the environment your relationship is in is going to determine just how easily and how well it flourishes. So we also always, love and appreciate our friends for rooting us on and, not being in our ear, being negative and not, those things happen and they tear relationships down. So we actually are really grateful for our support system and our inner circle for sure.
It's a very key component in any relationship, I believe, whether it's a marriage, dating, or whatever it may be. Who you surround yourself with is really gonna determine who you become as well. So I mean, that's one of the major keys.
Yep.
That part. And it's crazy too, because for men, a lot of times when it comes to you talk about, you know, your boys, for some men, depending on the type of, you know, humans they decide to surround themselves with, it can be tough to maintain relationships, because when you have to shift from, hey, yo, I'm out all night, to I have a wife at home who is expecting me to come and to be open and to be present and to be of service, that can sometimes cause friction. So having a really good support system of friends and even family who are just like, no, it does take a really strong ecosystem to help to support. Now, of course, we're not doing the hard work like you guys, and I don't want to call it hard work. We're not doing the exciting work, because I really want us to stop calling relationships hard. They just are complex.
Yeah.
It's complex. It's just, it's different. It's levels to it, right? Yeah. Especially once you're hurt, because I don't care how amazing you are, live long enough, you know, there are going to be times where in relationships that you are hurt. And so when you are hurt, there are two ways you could go usually. And of course you have your outliers, but there are usually two ways, to where you are fuck the world, fuck women, fuck men, fuck everybody. I hate y'all. Y'all are all the devil. Or it's, well, let me keep trying this again because I know there's somebody out there for me. And so like, how do you, and this one is for both of you, but how do you manage and like handle the consequences, right, of the decisions that you made in previous relationships? What does that look like, dealing with that in a new union?
Ladies first. That question is for you. How do we handle the consequences? That is a really good question. I think the best way to kind of deal with it, because, you know, there's a lot of things that come that you bring with your relationships, things that are physical that you can see, like children and homes and things that might have connected you physically to that other person. And then a lot of it is the emotional, and I don't like to use the word baggage because it sounds like it's always so heavy, but it can be just habits and things that you kind of developed in a previous relationship, and they may not function in this relationship. So I think the best thing to do is kind of figure out, especially if it's emotional and it's not tangible things, which is what I more so brought into a relationship, is the things that, you know, I didn't really bring anything tangible except like a dog, as far as like things that could impact our relationship negatively. You know, like I just didn't really have, I didn't have any children before. I didn't have like a home or assets with my partner before. So most of my stuff was just like shitty habits and trust issues and, you know, feeling really apprehensive to like really falling in love, a lot of fear and things like that. And the best way is just to have really, really honest, uncomfortable conversations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we really pride ourselves on, is just having really uncomfortable conversations. Because when you, it's like, what do I always say? What's the point of always putting a Band-Aid over a bullet wound? And that's all you're doing. And sweeping more dirt under the rug. Eventually, it's just going to lead to a messy house. So we always pride ourselves on having open, honest communication with each other.
Yeah, even if it's like cringeworthy, you know, and that's actually something I've learned a lot from you, is like, he will just be ready to have the most uncomfortable conversation with you at 4 a.m. Like, he doesn't care. Like, if there's like a vibe between us in the daytime, he like will come home and he's like, look, we're not watching TV. We're not doing nothing until we talk about this. And I have some masculine energy where I like to shut down and I kind of just don't want to deal with it. And he's very much like, no, we're going to talk about this right now. We're going to get it out of the way, because I don't know. It's kind of like you have this philosophy, like we don't have time to like just sit and be mad for 3 days and not talk for a week. Like, I've been in those situations living with somebody. Yeah. And you're not talking for 3 days and the house is heavy and stuffy. And you want to sit outside in the parking lot because you don't want to come inside because the energy's trash. And oh my gosh, I mean, it's just the worst.
And at the same time, the most important thing about that approach that I take is timing is everything, even though it may seem abrupt or out of nowhere. Timing is key, because there's times where I might want to shut down, or you might have to give your partner some breathing room just to like gather their thoughts. Oh, I got a cool down moment where I might say the wrong thing, or she might receive this the wrong way because you're already having a bad day. But it can't hurt us in the process. You know what I mean? So timing And I try to approach everything with grace. And you taught me that was a major key word, is just give some people grace. So
because everybody's going through something. Like, I don't care how perfect it looks on the outside. Literally everybody is going through something. And you may feel like, because some people are like, I was complaining about something and the comment was made, well, oh, that's a first world problem. And I'm like, well, I live in the first world, so it's okay that I have first world problems.
These are going to be my problems. This is kind of how that works. It doesn't make them less of problems. These are just the kind of problems I have.
Right.
Yeah. And that's okay, whether or not I understand it or they understand it or whatever it is. And you said something, you said you don't like to call it emotional baggage. I like to call it emotional defaults. Like, this is where I default to. This is the habit has become my default. And this is what it is when, you know, when I'm triggered or hit certain things. And so you guys were talking about like uncomfortable conversations. And so what has been like one of the most uncomfortable conversations that you guys have?
Money. For me, finances. I hate talking about finances with men. Probably with anybody. It's just not a fun conversation to have. So that for me was a super uncomfortable one. We have a lot of those.
I think we both are probably the same when it comes to money. I'm a very private person. I've always handled things on my own, and to have a partner that I can trust and now give you some access to certain things is like, you know, I have to, if I'm going to build a life with you, I have to trust you with that information. So. So that was uncomfortable. Conversations about, he has a now 10-year-old son from his previous marriage. Those conversations can get really uncomfortable too, because I'm coming into a stepmother role, and it can be very challenging for me to kind of know the role that I should play, know like how to navigate. That has been very challenging for me. So those conversations, I think, get a little uncomfortable for me. Maybe you don't seem that uncomfortable about any conversation. You're always ready to just talk about anything. I mean, you got to approach everything.
Yeah, and he's like pretty confrontational. I am too, but it's like with you,
in a healthy way.
Yeah, but with you, I just get like, I don't know, my emotions are so involved. But conversations, we have a lot of conversations around, like, so we do something called a check-in. And you would at a restaurant or in a different environment. We typically don't do them at home. It's always like at a restaurant, we're out and about on a date, and we like to do like a check-in with each other. So it's like, hey, is there anything I can do more of? Anything I can do less of? Anything that I was doing before that you like that I stopped doing? Anything that I said I would stop doing that I started doing again? And we try to have like conversations like that, like at least quarterly, just to kind of check, like a temperature check, and be like, hey, where are you at? Because sometimes the environment, sometimes like how you say about timing, getting that timing sometimes can feel hard when life is happening all around you. When you have children, when you have work, to kind of sit and be like, hey, these are my issues, is not always like, it doesn't always feel like the right time. So we kind of carve out that time to make sure that we have really uncomfortable conversations about how we feel about things, and we can just be raw and honest. And I think doing it outside of your home when you're kind of in good spirits on a date, I think it helps to kind of make that conversation more digestible.
It lightens the load. It takes attention out the air, if there even is tension. But that's something I learned to do with her is have quarterly check-ins, if not sometimes bi-weekly check-ins.
Yeah, you know, we're having like I don't really think we have rough patches, but we ebb, right?
Everybody ebbs and flows,
ebb sometimes, and sometimes the ebbs last a little longer than I like.
She be spazzing.
Not spaz.
No, but I can sense it, but I know when to give you some space. And we always
you're actually, you know what? You know something? You're very intuitive. I always tell you that your intuition creeps me out because I've never been with an intuitive man. And you're like, I'll wake up in the morning and I didn't even decide what's wrong with me yet, but my energy, I guess, is off. And
what was wrong yet?
I'm gonna nip it in the bud early.
And I'll like wake up and sit up, and I just know, I already know, like I'm starting to process that I feel fucked up. And then he'll be like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, nothing. And he's like, nah, something's off. You're off today. And I'm like, I've been up for 3 minutes, sir. Like I haven't decided what's pissing me off. And he just feels me. He feels my body. He feels my energy. Like he's very in tune with me. And he just knows, even if I'm trying to hide it, even if I'm like, oh, I'm fine, nothing's wrong. he does not ignore that. Like he's he's always right. There's never a time where he thought something was wrong and something wasn't wrong. Sometimes the way I may deliver, he may think I'm more upset than I actually am, but he will always know when something is not right, for sure. For sure. So you're very intuitive. And I think more men need to get in touch with their feminine side so they can understand their woman in a better way.
Yeah, and I feel too, like, especially for men who are a lot more masculine, they feel like being in touch with the side of them that is vulnerable and that is softer, that it makes them not a man. And it's like, no, it actually makes you more of a man, because why wouldn't you want to make sure that your family is taken care of, that your family's needs are met? And it's something that you guys talked about earlier, where Dani, you had notated that, okay, you know, Reggie, you have been married before. And so that marriage, of course, ending, anything that comes to an end, there is a heartbreak there, whether it's friendships, whether it's your romantic partners, there is a heartbreak there. And like I said, there's usually, you know, two roads people travel down. And so for a man, like we've talked a lot about like what it looks like for healing for a woman and what we do and how we walk ourselves through it, cry all the tears, do all the things. But what does healing look like for a man, like after heartbreak? And then how do you learn to trust again? Because for men, y'all be a little tougher on this whole
savage mode.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the dot. To be honest with you, I mean, it took some time. It took a couple years or so to really find who I was again. You know what I mean? I lost myself for a second. My previous relationship, I think we were just too young, naive, high school sweethearts, but really didn't even get a chance to explore the world yet. So had our son, biggest blessing in the world at the time for me. And then my daughter came obviously later. So I have two amazing blessings. But that didn't end well. It wasn't it was a dark moment for me. You know what I mean? It took a minute for this divorce to happen. It dragged on for 5 years and COVID hit. So that prolonged everything. So I was in a crazy space, spending all types of money trying to, you know, preserve all my assets that I worked hard for. It was just a lot of things going on. And eventually finally was granted that divorce, walked away from it. You know, sometimes when you're going through something, you feel like you're the only one in the world going through this. And I remember being at my parents' home one time. I was laying on the bed in the living room or wherever I was at, and my stepdad walked in. He saw me just down and out. You know, sometimes I felt like the only person in the world and the world's spinning, but I'm the only one standing still and just looking at the ceiling. He was like, "Look, you're not the first, you're not the last, and the person I know is not gonna lay here all day." So. And I looked over and I saw my son. I was like, and that was a click in my brain. I just got up and I never looked back again. I got back in the gym. I went hard. My biggest distraction at that time was work. So I went even harder, because if it wasn't for like business and work and always being in a creative field, I probably would have been even worse in the workspace. Yeah. So, you know, things started to turn around. I got everything back and then some. And then I get this text from somebody. And we've known each other for a little bit. Like we
for a decade. Not a little bit. I met him when I was 19 years old.
Crazy.
Right. I'm
crazy
32
story.
now. So
that might be for a whole nother podcast. We could get into it. So yeah, like Dani and I, we were strictly platonic. We were good friends. You know, there was obviously a spark there. We just disconnected.
And then you got married.
Yeah, I got married. And you were in a couple relationships. We would run into each other. We would always run into each other.
We would run into each other randomly, like in random spaces and things like that. But it had been years since we had spoken. It had been at least 3 years since I had seen him or spoken to him.
Yeah. But she was always on my mind. Like, ask all my boys, I'd be like, "Yo, FIU, remember FIU?"
They call me FIU because I was at FIU
at the time.
That we met. Alicia was too. You was still at FIU too when I was there.
True. So, but I would always pass landmarks, something like that, and she would always be on my mind. And sometimes we would be in the same like vicinity, like concerts or whatever, and we would be in the same building, but always walk right past each other.
Yeah, we found that out later when we reconnected. Like, I was at this concert, and it's like I was there too, and crazy. You know, so it's like just like passing ships, you know, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is crazy too, because a lot of times, like when things don't work out like that first time, because you said there was always like a something there, but of course you both being in, you know, committed relationships with other people. You, of course, Reggie, being in a marriage. Dani, of course, you living your best life in your relationships, you know, doing what you do. So when things don't work out, like, okay, we could have had something, but we didn't. So it is what it is. A lot of people are taught like it's simply not meant to be. Cool people, great person, but it's a no. So then how did you say, or what would you say is some of your most impactful, like, things that you learned, like growing as an individual during your time apart that did prepare you to trust love again? Because it literally can be so hard, especially when you have an experience like yours, Reggie, where you were saying you were doing your best to protect your assets that you had worked so hard for. Like, how did you have to grow, or how did you both grow individually to get to that point?
For me, I mean, I definitely had to fall back in love with myself again before I could love anybody else.
Hello.
You know what I mean? Because I beat myself up so bad. Like, I was having an out-of-body experience. I was like, when I finally got out of that situation, I looked back and I looked at myself. I was like, damn. So after strike 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 100, you still stayed? You know what I mean? If she probably could say the same thing about me, but I know me, and I'm looking at myself now, and I'm like, damn. Like, who I am now, you got
never.
you got one strike and it's a wrap. You know what I mean? And so I really had to like look back and not repeat the same mistakes that and turn my losses into a lesson at the end of the day. And you know what? Some people, my mom or anybody, could even say, "Oh, Reggie," because what I was thinking to myself is like, damn. Maybe I did too much, you know what I mean? But one of my good friends, Lashana, she told me, "No, you did exactly what any man would do. You just did it for the wrong person." You know what I mean?
Yes.
Well, that's what clicked also in my head. Is like, I'm a very giving person. I do the sleeve off my shirt. You know what I mean? What's mine is yours, and if we're into something together, whether it's business, whether it's a relationship, whatever it is. Like, I will never be the weakest link on any team, and I'll always pride myself on that. And I will always be that partner that person deserves. But when you get taken advantage of it, it turns your heart cold. But it's hard to, because at one point I was in a space where I was just on savage mode, and this is right before I got that text from Dani. I was just out here.
It's one or two ways. It's one or two ways.
I was living. I had my place. I bought another crib. I was, you know, I was
holy, y'all. He was holy. He was out in these streets.
I was dating.
He was out here, shonen.
No, I was.
Do people say shonen still? Oh my god, I'm showing my age. I just said shonen.
I was free, very single, and you know, I just had to read. And you know what? When it's all said and done, you could run through 1, 2, 3, whatever. And but I get back home and then I'm looking at that ceiling again. It's like you still feel empty in this big ass house. It's nothing there. So, but when you meet that right person and it just feels, she made my house become a home. You know what I mean? There's certain things that the right one will do for you, and you'll know when it's the right person.
Ooh, I love this conversation. Oh, I'm over here like Hercules.
But how do you know, though? I always wonder that with men, because, you know, we've had men on the podcast.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh, they know within 5 minutes that there's potential. A man, right? You agree with that?
Absolutely.
So what is the thing? Can you describe it? Like, what's the thing that's like, oh, her, but not her?
I know if I'm going out, I know I'm about to waste this girl time. or we're going to waste each other time, because it's either going to,
But what is it? Like, is it the way she dresses? Is it the way she speaks? Is it her energy? Like, what is it that makes you feel like, oh, this girl could potentially be my wife? Like, y'all go from like, I'm just going to have sex with this girl and this girl has potential to marry. Like, you guys can do that in 5 minutes. Yeah. Women, it takes a little bit longer than that. Like, I don't know if I can marry you, right? I need some time. I need to see more stuff. You guys actually have this intuition.
I'm like men. I know from the jump. Yeah. Listen, you know
me too, but I just feel like women, you can grow on us and change our mind.
I be trying to let them change my mind, but
I mean, for me, I'm big on energy. If the energy isn't there and it's not reciprocated, then I already know we're gonna waste each other's time. And it has to be magnetic. when Dani and I rekindled, we was on the phone till like 6 o'clock in the morning, the sun coming up on some high school vibes. You know what I mean? And I haven't met him. Yeah, just like, and we wake up at time to go to work, and it's like, damn, you fell asleep on the phone. I did too. And it's just on some like, you know, like all the butterflies again, and I never felt that before. So at that point, I was like, you heard what I said at the engagement dinner. I was like, it's one thing I always told myself when I made that mistake. When we first linked up, I always told myself she was the one that got away, but I'll never make that mistake again. So right then and there, you know, I had to lock it down.
Like, okay, great, we're back. Okay, and we're moving. I love that. I love that. And it's crazy too, because it aligns with most women want to feel like we're adored, right? Like that's how we want to feel. We want to feel like, you know, we don't have to be your entire world, but at least we a whole big part of it. Like at least maybe the solar system, you know, part of your world. But men, you guys want to make sure you're respected. Not make sure, but that is just it, that you want to be respected, understandably so. So what are some of the ways in which a woman can show respect? And for me, I always, because I've been in situations that weren't as favorable, it always is beautiful to me when I see my girlfriends honor their husbands and honor their partners, like respecting them. But that's from our lens of what it looks like to respect you. So from your point of view, Reggie, what are some of the ways in which as women, we can show our men respect?
Ironically, we just had our premarital counseling session, a couple weeks ago, about a week ago.
Like a marriage prep.
Yeah, nothing crazy. It was just like a prep, just to see where we are and everything else before. It's our officiant, so he just wanted to make sure he's marrying the right people, and that's actually her cousin. So I took pride in that. I actually valued that he actually wanted
that was cool.
See where my head was at, see where her head was at. So I valued that. But I say that to say this, he used this term called submissive, and that could be taken anywhere. You know what I mean? Some people hear it and they're like, no, I'm not submitting to no man or X, Y, and Z. But that really means just a sign of respect. You know what I mean? And that's what you were touching base on. And when I heard that, my main thing was more so allowing your man to lead. You know what I mean? Because I'm a traditional dude. I'm not a caveman dude. Well, I'm just club you over the head and you coming back to the cave.
Bring that ass here.
You know what I mean? Like I need somebody that I could feed off any type of idea, whether it's in a professional setting or whether in a personal setting. Like I come to Dani all the time about advice on business and say, hey, what do you think about this? Even something as trivial as a post. Like, what picture do you think I should post first? Or this one, it is not on my personal, but when it comes to business, just so I can see that study from a woman's perspective. You know what I mean? So like I get that respect from her. She gets that respect from me, but I'm big on like, okay, I'm very traditional. I'm gonna make sure we're protected. I'm gonna make sure we'll forever be good. Allow me to lead, and I'm always gonna get your input on everything. I'm just gonna not do anything blindly and wildly. She does say I'm a little crazy when it comes to like home renovations or whatever, or cars or whatever it is. I like what I want, and then if I show up with some, but she eventually loves it at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, that's definitely been an area of opportunity for us. Is him just kind of learning to move with a partner.
True.
I assumed that because he had been married before that he already knew how to do that.
And
it wasn't a conversation we needed to have because I'm like, oh, he's been married. He was married. He'd been in that relationship since high school. So it's like, it was a very long-term relationship. They had a home together before and stuff like that. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, he knows how to move with a woman and with a partner. And he had to tell me like, no. And even in that relationship, he was still kind of moving on his own.
Yeah.
And
we both were kind of moving on our own. So
it wasn't
no cohesiveness.
Yeah, he's never done that before, you know? So for me, it was like when he's just like on the phone, like, yeah, come through and do our bathroom. And it's like, huh? Like, are we gonna talk about this? But for him, it's just like he felt like he's just always had to do it on his own, and he trusts his gut, and he's impulsive, and he goes for it. I'm more, he always says to me, slow feet don't eat. And I, you know, my feet were a little slower than his. Yeah. And we've even had, that's another uncomfortable conversation about the pace in which we move at to do things. He's much more of like a doer.
Yeah, I'm a risk taker. I'm definitely a calculator. But one thing I always say is that I'm a calculated risk taker.
But you're the only one who knows the calculations. You got to tell me.
Good though, right?
You got to tell me what your calculate is so that I can make sure it makes sense to me.
It's true.
So we definitely had a couple of those uncomfortable conversations of, hey, this makes me feel uncomfortable that, hey, this is being spent and I don't know how, why, where, you know, so that's been a big thing, is just us both learning what partnership really looks like for us.
True.
And submissiveness to me just more so means like, obviously respecting him. And in that meeting with the pastor, you said that respect is like how I talk to him, you know, like how I treat him. And like, I mean, the pastor said this, and this was like, it sounded so extreme to me, but he said that I need to speak to him the way I would speak to God. And I was like,
damn. Exactly. Even when I'm mad. Wait, do we draw the line somewhere?
No, but when he said it, he wasn't saying it in like an old school way. He was just like, but just think about your husband in that way. And I was like, wow, like obviously he's not God, but just honoring him and just treating him as a man that you honor was more so what he was saying when he broke it down. Because at first I was like, but when he broke it down, like, hey, you honor him, you speak to him as if you honor him. It's not just, that's what respect, like that's like the word I think women need. You want to honor your husband so they feel respected, and the man needs to adore his wife so it's easy to respect him, right? Absolutely. Because you know, like if you're treating me good and you make me feel like I'm the best thing in the world, even when you're doing stupid shit, it's just like, that's my baby. He's mine though. You know, that's the thing.
He do some dumb shit, but he's my dumb.
You'll see like the old school woman, like you know that they're like, you know, her husband is an idiot, but she's just like, that's my idiot. That's my stupid man.
Not over
that's
here,
my I mean not you. I mean you're brilliant. But I'm just saying, like those women from back in the day, they were very much on like, he can't do no wrong. And you're not going to know if he's doing wrong for sure, you know? So that for us is just keeping, especially our intimate moments, our problems and things like that. We only have a very select few people that we talk to our problems about. Usually other couples or people that have experience that only want the best for us. Yeah. Those are really the only people we even let in because we know how delicate that is. So I know that for you is a big thing for respect, like not talking to him crazy, especially in public, not running his name in the ground to my friends and my family. Things like that are very, very important when it comes to respect.
Yeah. And that's something that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
But what she just said is something that I had to like learn and didn't experience as much in my last relationship. You know what I mean? We would have the most minor issue, the whole block would know, or family A would know, family B would know, and then it's just snowballed into something that wasn't even there to begin with, and then you became the company you kept. You know what I mean? So then you got all types of different people, unmarried friends, giving you information and advice, and we live in Miami. You know how that can go quick. You know what I mean? And it is what it is. So you really have to be mindful of the company you keep and befriend people who are interested in the same things you're interested in. They don't all have to be married, but they also have to like believe in you and trust you and love you.
Yeah. You know and love what you have together.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes they love you, but they don't like your partner, but they need to trust that your choice is the right choice for you, especially if the tree is bearing its fruit, right? Especially if you're happy, especially if you're flourishing, especially if your life has improved since you've been with that person. You know, like those markers need to help your friends gain confidence in your decision. But I know for us that's been a big, because I'm also like a very like, I call my girlfriends for everything. Like I'm just that kind of girl. Like I'm a girl's girl. I grew up with sisters and just my mom. So I'm very much into like calling my friends for things. And I've had to learn with him to kind of scale back on some of the things that I discuss. I still call him for stuff. But some of the things I do. But I'll tell him, like, I'll talk to this person about this because I needed another perspective. And he's always like, and sometimes he's like, she didn't say that, because my friends would be like, nah, you was wrong. Nah, that wasn't it, sis. Or nah, he's right. Because they also have grown to love him and get to know him. So I think, and one of the things that the pastor also said was about like, your partner, your friends and your family are going to treat your partner based on how you treat them.
Always.
So if you don't respect them and you're talking crazy to them, because when y'all get over it and y'all having makeup sex, your family's still mad about whatever they
see the
did.
resolution.
They don't. And you usually don't call them back about how it got resolved. You usually just call and complain. And, you know, just like people don't call companies to give compliments, they only call to give complaints.
I'm upset.
Yeah. So we've kind of, I think we've gotten a lot better at it, especially me, because I feel like I had more of an issue with kind of calling people and always needing advice about things. We've learned to just kind of talk to each other and just have those uncomfortable conversations and only involve people we know absolutely are rooting for us and want the best for us.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you guys said something too. I feel like we can boil down. We said honoring, like respect is a sense of honoring. It is also being able to submit to each other. But one thing that I think the baseline of it is figuring out what your partner defines as respect. Like if you know your partner does not like to be talked crazy to in public, you disrespect him.
He doesn't like to be talked crazy in private either.
But for some women, they a little, they're working on that part. But if you know you're working on things, like your emotional default is you still gonna talk a little crazy, but you just won't do it in public. Okay, that's growth. We're growing. We're getting somewhere. Or if you know, like for me, it's a trigger for a man to raise his voice at me. If you raise your voice, I'm out. I can't. I'm sorry. I've been abused. Raise your voice. I gotta go. So knowing like, hey, these are the things that shows my partner respect, or these are things that they value, that they find important, taking the time to learn that, and then to be excited about learning that. And then to protecting what you know are sensitive areas. Like I really love, Dani, you and I were having a conversation a while ago, and I was telling you, I really love how you make sure that you protect your partner. Like you make sure that Reggie is protected. And that's something that especially your partner, no matter which way it's going, protection isn't just, oh, if somebody comes to fight you, I'm gonna hurt them. Like, no. Protection is also knowing that this is a sensitive side, or there's a wound here that I need to make sure if don't nobody know it's there, I know it's there. So I'm gonna make sure I cover that side of you. I feel like that is something that I really, really admire, Dani, in the way that you entreat Reggie, because you make sure like his sensitive sides are protected. It's like, nah, what we not finna do is that.
Yeah. That's super important to me. Especially because like I always make this joke with him that nice people should just date other nice people, right? I always say that because it's like a lot of times when you're like, there are really good-hearted, genuine people out in the world. And I think a lot of times people like that are like lights, and lights attract flies.
Everything.
Right? And because you're a light, and I always tell him this, like he's a light, and I think sometimes people just want to cleave to that light, and they want that light. And sometimes you, as a good person, you just want to help them. You just want to be there for them. You just want to like do the right thing. And that is really coming from a genuine place with no motive, no bad intentions. But the problem is sometimes people don't know what to do with that except try to smother it out or try to suck it dry. Right. And take advantage of it and dim your light so that they can feel more comfortable.
True.
And I always feel like we're just like two really genuine, good humans that found each other in this life, because it's like I see some people see what's wrong with you and see your weakness and use it to manipulate you, use it to hurt you. They use it like, oh, I know where your soft spot is. Let me get at you. And with us, I feel like we're very much like, oh, I know what your soft spot is. Like, hold on. Like, I'm not going to go there with you because I know that what that can do. And you feeling him hurting hurts me. So it's like, that doesn't even work in my favor to like try to jab at him knowing that I could, because at this point, I feel like we know each other's buttons. And it's just like, I know your buttons. I'm going to put them in this drawer and lock the door because I don't even want to mess with that, because I just care. I don't want him to hurt. Like him hurting bothers me.
It definitely goes back to like that key word, respect. Like we have the utmost respect for each other. And I see how she protects me. You know what I mean? Like she says, and we protect each other. But you want to give an example? I mean, I have a giving heart. You know what I mean? If I got it, you got it. You know what I mean? If the show must go on and it costs X, Y, and Z, all right, let's just stop talking about the money part here. You know what I mean? Not that it's a revolving bank. It's just that let's just get rid of that issue and move forward. But then, my future wife here will remind me that, hey, that's also taken from our home. That's getting you added more stress. We're in the middle of planning a wedding. We have X, Y, and Z. Are they considering all these factors? No. Just all I know is just hustle and I'll replace, hustle, replace, hustle, replace. But then I'm adding unnecessary stress. And she's a big stress reducer in my life. And I never had somebody have my back like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. From eating better, meditating, breathing exercises. If I'm getting nervous, just knowing how to I'm doing a lot more public speaking and guest appearances. And she's helped me like gather myself and things that we've had conversations with each other that I've had friends for 20 plus years that I haven't even been able or had the courage enough to even say to them, you know what I mean? But I can tell her almost everything in my mind, you know what I mean? And she can pretty much do the same thing. And I think that's why we click. Yeah. We're very vulnerable. That's the one major key is that we're vulnerable. We allow ourselves to be human. I don't have to be Superman all the time. I can take the cape off. I don't want to be in the streets fighting all these wars, but when I'm home, and it actually feels like a home. So she makes it easy.
So then, do you think like that's how like she creates a safe space so that you can foster that vulnerability? Because to be able to take your cape off, that means you getting that's real vulnerable. Like once the superheroes take their cape off, that's supposed to be their protection. That's it. Protection gone.
But at the same time, that's the time I feel the most free. So I mean, I can let my guard down. I could put my phone wherever I want to put it now. I ain't gotta have my phone on silent and this and all that. You know how that goes. Whatever. We can go there with it. But yeah, I mean, I'm just me. I'm unapologetically me. I'm who I am. I'm not whatever on a date. I'm not just trying to tell you whatever you want to hear. I'm Reggie. Like when we eat together. And that's it.
I mean, you've told me before that you feel like I don't judge. So I've asked him like this question kind of I ask a lot of questions.
Yes. Clearly we like questions.
We like questions. But I ask him a lot of questions because he's like I really call him my favorite human, but it's not just because like he's like my partner. It's because I really just like how he's wired. Like I like his makeup. I like how he thinks. I like how he views the world. I love his balance of like being very altruistic and very kind and being very no nonsense and very business minded and very like cutthroat if he has to be. Like that balance to me is so awesome and so hard to kind of like find and flourish with. So like he really is just my favorite human because I just really love how he shows up in the world. Like I love how he is. I like how he treats people that he doesn't know. I also, like I said, I love that he's very straightforward. If you know him, he's very blunt. That takes some getting used to. He's going to say what's on his mind. Like you get him talking, he's going to be like, yeah, no, I'm not liking that. That's not happening. And you're like, oh, okay. Because he's so nice. So it always catches people up. I'm like, oh, okay. All right.
It ain't that type of party.
Yeah. So it's like, you've told me that, there's just no judgment. It's just like, even if it's like, oh my God, I've never told a soul this, like he knows everything, and I just tell him because I just feel like whatever it is can be figured out. That's how I always feel with you. Like you always make me feel like we can figure it out. It never feels like it's the end of the world with you. And that's hard for me because I'm always like 1 foot out the door. Like, I'm always looking at the emergency exit sign. Like, I walk into every room, even in real life, and I look for the emergency exit. I've been doing that as a child.
True.
I do. It's a thing my dad taught me. He's always like, walk into the room, look for the emergency exit, and don't sit with your back facing the door.
Yeah.
I still do that. And with him, when I realized that like, maybe I don't need to have like an exit strategy all the time because I just started feeling so safe, and you created a safe space for me by just how you responded to things I would tell you that made me really scared to tell you. Like I remember we had an instance where I had to tell him something that I was in tears telling him. Like I was frantically like shaking, not wanting to have the conversation. And I like was putting it off. And he's like there. I'm having like an anxiety attack. I'm crying. I'm losing it. And he's just so calm. Like, he's just like, just talk to me. And then I say what it is. And he's just like, okay. He's like, we're fine. It's good. We're good. Life goes on. Like, I got you. We got this. Let's keep it moving. And
That's
it was
it.
like, okay. And that's just how he is. Like, he's very calm in very crazy situations. And that for me is just so like settling in my spirit, because I'm a little more like, nah! And he's more like, we're good.
Funny thing is that I was actually listening to one of your podcasts the other day. I think you guys had Jessica Hurley.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and that was a very great podcast as well. A lot of gems you guys dropped on that. And she said something I'm trying to remember. She said she had so much, the amount of anxiety that she had would snowball into something that was never even there. So I've learned to like, okay, instead of riling myself up and going so crazy and losing my mind, if you just be honest and truthful about something, it'll actually be a lot better than trying to, you know what I mean? Like sweep it under the rug, or you're losing your mind on something that's not even there. So I've learned to, you know what I mean, pace myself, ask specific questions, be good on timing, because the timing is everything as well. Sometimes you don't want to force a conversation. Give that person grace. He taught me about giving people grace, and just being there and being okay, a lot of people can speak well, but can you listen well as well? You know what I mean? So I've become an amazing listener. Like I've allowed myself to let people say what they have to say, take it in, not just hear them, but listen, receive it. There's a reason why that person feels this way. You can't just be ready to talk. You know what I mean? You can't be ready to rebuttal all the time. Listen to that person, take it in, let it sit for a second, and then gather your thoughts and then reply. Or you know what? Just be like, it's okay to say you're right and readjust and move forward.
Yeah, it's always me and him against the problem, not me and him against each other. So whenever we do have those ebbs and it feels like it's me and him against each other, we'll kind of try to come back to center like, okay, look,
what is it?
This is the issue. Let's talk about that so that we can get back to us. Because for us, it's just always about getting back to our baseline. Like we just like to be vibing. We like to be vibing high, kissing, touching. Like when that vibe isn't there for us for any period of time, we start to be like, okay, what needs to happen? You know?
Yeah. Let's get, and that too. I love that. Defining like what's your baseline in your partnership. Like, what does that look like? What do we want our baseline to look like? If our
demanding it all the time, like making it a requirement, not just like, oh, we used to be like that, but we're not like that no more. You know, the fire went out. Nah, like we have to have that for this to work.
Yeah. We just said this last night.
That's an important thing too, because it's like, as you grow, and you just said it, Dani, is as you grow, it's like, oh, we used to do that, but we don't no more. And it's like, excuse me, I'm still the same person. I still like that. Like I was having a conversation with a married couple. They've been married, I want to say 12 years now. And I was joking with her, although I was for real, saying I was about to go enjoy somebody's son. And she was like, what? Enjoying sex? What is that? I don't know anything about that anymore. And I was just like,
oh no.
We have, but funny thing is that we'll have our dry spells because obviously our daughter is here. You know that, and I've always had to reassure her that, look, this is not forever.
Yeah,
like,
he handles that way better.
Like she's in our bed, it's like, oh, are you not attracted to me anymore? I'm like, oh, you not attracted to me? I'm like, no, listen, this girl is literally in our bed. We can't get it in. Right now. You know
some people are, because you want to know this. I've had friends say like, oh, we just move the baby to the side and get it in, but we're just not that.
Yeah, I can't.
I feel like the way we get down is just
we too crazy for all that. I can't have little baby eyes looking at me and no.
When they sleep, I'm just saying. When I was married, you know, let Naya be sleep. Go ahead, push her over to the edge of the bed.
I mean, I'm not saying we never have. We have, but for us, to be honest, sex is such a big. It's a very large part of our dynamic.
Very important.
It's very important to us. It has a lot to do with we are today is that we have amazing sex, and it's like it's just easy, it's effortless, it's just like our passion is just like it never, like no matter, even if when we do have dry spells since we've had the baby, it's just like when we do it, it's like, God, I wish we could do it. Like, why don't we do this more? Like we enjoy this.
We always got to remind ourselves like, damn, why are we not?
Yeah, you know, and throughout our remember a lot of our relationship took place at the height of COVID. So everybody was just fucking during COVID. And we were one of those couples that we spent a lot of time together having a lot of sex. So, you know, hence Isabel.
Yeah.
So for us, it's like, but we like that. Like I've always wanted that, you know, and I've been in relationships where I wasn't getting that. So for me, it was like, oh my God, that's a big check mark for me to have this chemistry that was very natural. We like the same kind of, you know, things like that. Like, it's just, we're very compatible sexually.
Yeah.
And, you know, when we do have those dry spells, they're really hard on me. Because like I said, that's such a big dynamic for us. And it's something I've always really wanted in a relationship that I never had. So for me, it's like, damn, I felt like I found it, and oh my God, it's going away, or oh, it's fading, it's fizzling, you know. And he's always like, wait, like, this is just a moment in time. It will go back to normal. You know, maybe we need to do this, we need to do that. Let's make more of it. It may take a little bit more of an effort, but once things are in a full swing, it's like riding a bike.
I love that. The fact that it all goes back to respect. It's respecting the fact that your partner feels away because she's like frantic, like, hey, yo, do things change? Have they changed? Do you still like me? Yes, no, or maybe. Let me know. And you're just like, hey, this really is a moment in time. And after this moment passes, we're going back to right where it is. And then giving each other what you know you need. Let's go on a date night. Okay, we know we don't like, you know, to explore and have fun with her in the bed. Okay, what do we do so that we can still get back to us? Like it's being not just proactive, but also it is sometimes being reactive. Hey, I don't like this place that we've gotten to. Let's see what we're going to do to circumvent or to make this better. That's
if I ever find Dani going into panic mode and I'm like, look, this is just a moment of time. Okay, outside of the physical, look at everything else that we're building. I'm like, within a year, we did X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? I don't want to put all our accomplishments out there, but within 1 year, we had a beautiful daughter, obviously, bought a home, renovated the entire house from start to finish. You started a couple businesses. I've started a couple things. We closed on another property. We just closed on a property yesterday, helped my mom out with a situation, brought my parents out. There's so many monumental things that we've done within a year. Yeah. Sometimes we have to stop, breathe, and look at everything and be like, damn, okay. Outside of what we think we're losing out on or lacking in, but we've gained so much more. It's just a moment in time, and we'll be right back.
And something you said to me one time, having one of these conversations when I was kind of being like, what's wrong with us? Was that you said that those things are intimacy as well.
True.
And I never thought about it like that. You know, he's like, what's more intimate than like building a life together? He's like, that is in, because I was like, I feel like our intimacy is not the same. And you were just like, look, a lot has happened. Like we're adjusting, but just think about like how intimate is it for us to like purchase a home together. He's like, that's binding. Like that is intimate. That is deep. Like,
especially coming from what I just came from with asset splitting and liabilities here and there. And like I'm in a situation where we've done some monumental things, and we just got to look at it and respect it and pat ourselves on the back and be like, man, we did that. You know?
Yeah. And it's phenomenal because, and Dani, you said it earlier, you know the tree by the fruit it bears. And so when you're looking at your relationship, look to see what is the progress that we're making together.
Yeah.
I posted it yesterday, and I was just like, if I have to have less getting with you, then why am I here? And why are you here?
Hello.
You said that.
I always say that. I don't get it. If you're not adding, you take it away.
Yeah.
And you know, people listen to us, Alicia, and they think we're just talking about finances. No. But it's not. Yeah, it's energetic, it's spiritual, it's just life.
Emotional.
Like, they can't even make you laugh for 2 seconds. Like, it's not just about finances. Obviously, finances are important to me, important to Alicia. Like, these are things that, like, I mean, I'm very honest with him. So y'all might think I'm just on here talking shit, and you probably wondering, oh, what's going to happen when he hears it? There's nothing I say on this podcast that I don't say to Reggie. Reggie and I are BFFs. Like, we like to watch TV and make fun of people. Like, this is my homie. So he knows how I feel about money.
So they know how I feel about money.
Yeah, like he knows. Like, we can't come on now. Like, he has to know. Like, I'm very verbal. I'm very open.
Particular.
I'm very particular.
I'm sure you and your audience knows how particular you are. So yeah, it's very
I'm particular,
so but I'm particular too. So
yeah, so it just works. But I think it's important to just like understand that person, and if you're upfront with people, they can make an educated and informed decision as to whether or not they want to deal with you or not. I have those conversations about money first quarter. Like, look, this is how I feel. This is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm not trying to do. What's up? Now you can decide, as opposed to it being 5 years in and I'm resenting you because you're not being this man I wanted you to be that I never told you I wanted in the first place.
Exactly. That's not fair. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to who that person is. Like, no, tell them from the jump. Listen, I like money and money likes me. I want us to grow a whole lot of it. That's just what it is. And it's okay. But that too comes down to respecting yourself and your partner enough to have conversations where you're telling the truth. Like, it's crazy because so many people refuse to have honest conversations and say, hey, this is who I am, because then you don't give the person the opportunity to have a chance to respect you, because they don't even know you. Because instead of bringing who you are, you brought your representative, and now they're doing what they think your representative wants, and you over here resenting them, having all type of conversations with your girls, like, oh, it's not it, and it's like, but you didn't even say
what he wants. What is he?
Yeah, literally.
And that man can decide whether he wants to pursue this or just
or not.
All right, a temporary thing, or okay, I know you're not the one, but we can have fun, or it's just not gonna happen, and that's on you as an individual, and that's on that dude as an individual. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, my standards, definitely are at a whole nother level. You know what I mean? I had to, like I said before, yeah, of course. I mean, she's a gem. You know what I mean? And you know what's crazy? Well, what I always say, like, all my boys, they always tell me, Reggie, don't mess this up. Reggie, don't fuck this one up. I'm like, yo, nigga, like, what about me? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm that dude too. Like, I'm a catch too. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I mean, I know what I have, and I know what I want, and I know I'm not gonna mess this up. You know, it's just, I love growing with her. We built something special. And I'm looking forward to what else we can do.
Yeah, because we always talk about, like, we're talking about, like, obviously accomplishments are great, and in a relationship that's intimacy. But I always say to him that for me, it's not how far we go, it's how deep we go. And I need depth and distance, right? Like, I need both. I'm not good with just like, oh, we've been together 10 years. Like, you're talking about these people that they've been married for 12 years, but they're not having sex. Like, for me, there's a depth issue with that. And for me, I deliberately deepen my friendships. I deliberately deepen my relationships with people, but it's very hard to do that with someone that is not willing to go there with you. And you can try to drag them, but what ends up happening is that pressure down there and that air supply so low, it takes a little bit of work, your lungs and your muscles. It's harder to go deeper. And what I love about him is that he is so open to the depth, and he, like, you know, I've never had that. That's something I've never had. It's like a man that is like, oh, you want deep? Let's go deeper. And let's keep trying to go deeper. It takes, for me, what I have to understand is that the depth takes a lot longer to happen, but as long as it's going, that's all that matters. It's not like, oh, we need to be at this depth in 5 years. It's like, no, as long as we're always going deeper, I don't care. I just want to go. Yeah.
I love that. And then too, it is crazy because for a lot of times, and Reggie, you tapped into it earlier, where you were saying, so after time number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 100, like, how did I, or why did I stay? And for a lot of times for women, it's many times wrapped into the financial security, you know, having, you know, housing security. I remember that was one of the threats that my former partner had threatened me with. So, you know, having house insecurity, like, that's scary. Yeah. And it is taboo for men to talk about dealing, you know, with women who may have been abusive and or narcissistic, because, and I love us, y'all, but sometimes we only think that men can be abusive and narcissistic, and that's just not the case. I have known, we weren't friends because I don't even play that. But I have known women who just were violent with their partner, and just talk to them crazy. And I let them know from the jump, hey, yo, we can't be friends. I don't even, because if you do it to them and you say that's your whole heart, oh, you're going to crucify me. And I don't want to be crucified. That's not my ministry. And so what would you say that when it comes to men are some of the like difficulties that men may face when they are attempting to leave like toxic relationships? And then what advice would you give for men to like, hey, let's take that step. We got to go.
Yeah. I mean, if I could say this is that like, is marriage work? Yeah. But also love shouldn't be hard. If it's hard, then it ain't love. You know what I'm saying? It should be free. And what I experience is, it's just, you know, like I said earlier, like I had an out-of-body experience. I looked at myself and I was like, wow, I stayed in this thing for so long. But there were different factors on why I stayed or whatever the case might be. I mean, one, I never knew my father growing up, my biological father. I don't even know his name, right? So I always wanted a 2-parent household. And I thugged it out. I stuck around. I really wanted to have my son to have both his parents in one house. But then when it's just that toxic, it's just, you can't do this anymore. And sometimes it's not even you. It's that individual and what they experience. And some of that trauma comes from childhood. And I can't be a punching bag for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Literally and figuratively. You know what I mean? So there's times where like if the only way you can communicate is with your hands. And as an alpha male, here's the situation. A dude, you're considered a pussy if you're saying, oh, I was in an abusive relationship, but you know, there's times where she could have gone to jail, but I'm like, nah, just let her go to her mom's house or whatever the case might have been. Yeah. So, but maybe if on the third time I was like, no, take her, go. You know what I mean? There's no more crying, crocodile tears, and damsel in distress. Like maybe you need to sit down and really think for a second on how far you take it. And as a black male, it's easy for me to be locked up because if I was doing X, Y, and Z, then I'm definitely sitting in somebody's cell. You know what I mean? For a minute in America.
I mean, if you make it there at this point,
exactly. That part. So you got all these dudes. Sometimes we don't even want to talk about that because you're considered a pussy. You're considered this and that because that's something that we frown upon. We don't really talk about those certain things. A man shouldn't even be in a situation like that. But I had a lot of factors that had me clouded and had my judgment clouded that on why I stayed. But then when I had that epiphany and now it was time for me to get up out of it, I never looked back. You know,
what was your epiphany? What was your epiphany?
It shouldn't be this hard. Like I'm working towards something that I'm going this way and you're going that way. So we're never going to meet in the middle. Yeah. So this can't be my life. I'm not doing this. These are the prime time years of my life. I wasted, I think, the best years of my life, but that's impossible because now I'm here. You know what I mean? That was my mindset at the time. Yeah. All right, you can always lose money, but you can never replace your time. And I'm wasting too much time here. Now it's time for me to, all right, here's this paperwork. I need you to sign this. Like I got to get up out of here now. And you drag that out. You know what I mean? It was so bad, but now you're dragging this out. You know what I mean? So it was just at that point. And sometimes you also got to say to yourself, you can't reason with somebody who also doesn't have any type of reasoning. Like you can't reason with crazy, or you can't reason with somebody who just does not want to get it, because you still have to self-heal before you fix this situation. So it's nothing but the best for you, but I have to go this way now. You know what I mean? And I'm always going to be here for my son. And I just want you to be as healthy as possible for our son. You know what I mean? So you have to wake up sometimes. It might be tough. It might be hard. But for the greater good of everybody involved, you have to let it go.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the way that you express that. I want you to be healthy. I'll be there for my son, and you be over here. I'll be over there, and we'll manage it from that piece. And I've never actually heard a man talk about what you go through, especially with the things I could have done to you, I didn't. But maybe that is what you needed. Like I'm a firm believer. Nobody should put their hands on anybody unless we are enjoying ourselves, and that is what we both agreed to do in that moment.
Then it makes you question yourself, because we all have friends, we all have boys, and it'd be like, damn, Reg, boy, I ain't gonna lie, if that was me, then she gonna catch you. All right, but you're gonna be sitting down for 20 years, and then what? You know what I mean? Or you sitting down for 5 years or whatever it is. So it is what it is. I kept it moving, and I'm here now.
Exactly.
And yeah, I think for anyone leaving any abusive relationship is just always remembering that there is hope on the other side of that. A lot of times we feel like there isn't another, I'm not going to find anybody like this, or my life is going to be like this now without this person. And especially a lot of times it's more comfort than it is love. And you just get comfortable with that person, but we know that nothing grows in a comfortable space. And you know, so I feel like him, like sometimes he'll tell me some things that have happened to him and I like cry. Or like, you know, or I'll say to him, if I went through what you went through, I would never be with another girl.
And mind you, I'm not even looking for something. I'm just having casual conversation.
Yeah,
but that's how crazy it is.
Like, as a matter, like, because one time, I'm like, you know, and I'm just like, if I don't know, and I always tell him, like, I admire his resilience and his ability to believe and trust love again, because I would never. I would be done. The little bit of sprinkle that these fuckboys have done to me, I'm already like guarded. I cannot imagine going through what he's gone through and still be like, yeah, I'm going to try this again. I would be like, I would have been for life. I would have been a bachelor. So
that's why I love that Maya Angelou quote, though. What is it, Dani?
Find the courage. Hold on, let me just pull it up because I don't want to butcher it. Have enough courage to trust love one more time and always one more time. And you are like the epitome of that, because baby, I wouldn't do it no more. But I always know that what we have has to be special for you to have gone through those things and to still be like, okay, I'm gonna trust. And for me, that's probably another reason I'm so protective, is because I feel so honored that he trusts me. And you know, so for me, breaking that trust or doing something like that to him, knowing how he would be left based on the fact that he has to be pretty fragile, actually, even though he's doing it, he's like pieced together. So it's like, I have to be really gentle and delicate with his heart, because I know that if I were to do something, like, I don't know.
That's it. It's over the mountain. Ain't no more trust love again, Maya.
Where he's like, if we don't work out, I'm never being with a girl again. But
at the same time, I said this prior to her and I rekindling our relationship. I told myself I was just gonna be a savage. Like, I'm gonna be a 60-year-old bachelor, 70, and I'm not dealing with nobody. I'm just running through somebody.
When we reconnected, you said that.
Yeah, I was already
trying to do me. I was like, okay, I'm trying to do me too. What's up?
I think, you know what happened? We met at the right time, because she was out of a situation. I was out of a situation.
Yeah.
We did what we had to do. We went out here. We were the streets ain't for us. And we got with each other. And we did a lot of self-healing first, though. I fell in love with myself. She fell in love with herself. And then we just came together. And
we're still healing, you know? And I think I always talk about, you need to learn how to ride and whistle. Like, feeling like you have to be completely healed to be in a healthy relationship. And it's like, nah, we both have moments that trigger us still. We both have things that come up from our past. I mean, he has a child with his ex. So it's like, obviously that's a dynamic in our relationship that we're constantly having to deal with. So, I mean, there are still a lot of challenges and a lot of self-healing that we both do. We both go to therapy separately. Yep. We're going to start therapy consistently together. So it's like, you know, you have to always be focused on your own healing and fixing yourself so that you can be a better partner. And it has to be both. It can't just be the woman all the time trying to like fix everybody. Like, no, I work on me and you go to your therapy and you work on you too, so that we can come together. And after our therapy sessions, we'll talk and we'll be like, hey, this is what came up. And this, I didn't realize that this was how this was making me feel. And we can just talk about some of those
we have to give each other our best versions of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's super important to us. Yeah, it's about showing up for each other every single day. Like, love is a choice. Yes, it's an emotion, but being in love is a choice. It's a decision. You have to wake up every day and be like, I love this person, so this is what that means. This is how I show up, and this is what I need to do for myself, so I'm the best version of that. You know, when he sees me, like, obviously after having a baby, I was feeling really insecure about my body and feeling really like down. And he was just so like, look, like, this is not who you are. Like, let's go. Like, come on, let's get in the gym. Like, and it wasn't in like a way that was like, I want you to fix these things. It was like, no, I know who you are. And it's so important to have a partner who sees you just sees you like for who you really are, your highest self at all times, even when you're feeling low or even when you're not being the best version of yourself, because they know and trust who they know that you are. They always speak to that version of you.
Yeah. And I wasn't talking at her at the same time. It's like when we were dating, she wouldn't even go on a date with me until she finished the workout. So I'm like, we got to get back to who you used to be and who I used to be. So let's get it's not a choice. It was a lifestyle that we had prior to this. So like, let's get back to who we are first, and then we'll get back together, and then it's even more magic.
Yes to the magic. And on that note, listen, this was such a good conversation. I am positive that folks are gonna be helped and healed through this, because it is being willing and being able to trust love again after experiencing the other side of it. It's truly it's I don't want to say blessing, but it truly is an opportunity that folks don't always take advantage of, because it is a blessing to try again.
It is, and to just trust. You know what the best part about it is trusting yourself. That's really what it comes down to.
Being vulnerable.
Trusting love again is trusting yourself again. It's trusting that you will make better decisions. We all get to a space where we fuck up so much that you break that trust with yourself. And you make these decisions, and then you're just like, well, I don't know what to do. I keep picking bad. My picker's broken, right? Sometimes you see some woman, and I'll see people talk about women like J-Lo or Halle Berry, and they'll be like, oh, it's them. It's something. It must be something wrong with them. They can't keep a man. Da da da. I'm just like, well, what if her picker is just broken? Like, what if she's a great person, but she just keeps? These people are lights, obviously. I mean, look at the things they've accomplished. People are attracted to that. Like, it's not always that they're broken. Sometimes it's their selection of people is not the best all the time. And you just have to give yourself grace as always, and just realize that you can make better decisions and that you can decide different today. Whatever kind of boys or men you used to mess with, that you could change your type today, right now. He don't gotta be that kind of guy. Oh, I always attract fuck boys. I always attract cheaters. Well, just stop. Just stop attracting that.
True.
You know, and we always talk about, Alicia, how like men are very aware that if once one girl is gone, there's the next one around the corner. Women need that same awareness too, of knowing that, hey, there are other wonderful men out there, and they are there for you. For us, what I always tell him, because that is a lot of the reason why sometimes my foot be halfway out the door, is because I'm a firm believer in that miss one, next 15, one coming. However, I told him that for us to go the distance in our marriage, the depth is important, and we have to create something that I can't find anywhere else.
Yeah, and you can't find Reggie nowhere else. So go on ahead and our dynamic has to be so curated to us that it's just impossible for me to find. Obviously, there's other wonderful men out there that I could find. I could find anything better, obviously, and he can find anything better, but you can't find this. And I think that's when you're really trying to be with somebody to go the distance, and you're in love and you're creating a family, try to figure out ways that you guys can have experiences and conversations and things that you just can't copy and paste. You know, the things that we do together in our conversations, just like our vibe, or like we have like a thing. Can I say this about like our sex?
Thing.
I'll just say like we like to have sex in unusual places, right? Like parking lots, bathrooms at weddings, balconies. Like it's like a thing for us, and that's something I haven't done. You know, so it's like,
and you know what, you got to keep it fun. You got to keep it sexy. You got to keep it real. Like we date each other. Like we do role play games. Like I was the star quarterback, and she was the freshman cheerleader, and I was like, you know, look here. No, we just have fun.
Yeah, and that takes comfortability and vulnerability. And I think that for us, the more you can kind of just have those little things that's only for you guys, and that's that intimacy, I think it helps you go the distance, because it's like, yeah, well, this is our thing, you know, like this is my person, and this is the life we're creating, and it's just that doesn't exist anywhere else. This mixture cannot be recreated, and I love this mixture so much that you know. It's just nothing else is worth it.
And if I could leave with just this, I had a conversation with my buddy, my business partner Garrett, the other day, and he was loving. I guess he saw a story. He saw how much fun we were having on your birthday. I felt like it was my birthday, but he was like, "You know what, Reg, man, I'm happy for you, man. I'm proud of you. I love what you got going on." at the end of the day, like we always be looking for perfection or whatnot, but it doesn't matter if they check off all, if every box isn't checked, or if every box in your Rolodex in your head isn't checked. At the end of the day, it's what you guys have and what makes you happy. And then I sat back and I thought about that. And I was like, man, you're right. Yeah. You know, we're always looking for the right moment, the right person, this and that, man. But don't worry about these boxes. Everything doesn't need to be checked. As a matter of fact, throw it out. How do you feel? And if you feel good and you guys are building, then that's where you need to be.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So then, Reggie, where can we stay connected? How can we stay connected to you on your business page? On your business page, because we don't.
You know, I always call myself the most known unknown. I don't really do all. I mean, I have my social media.
That's great because we don't need. We love that.
Sliding into my man on DMs, okay?
I mean, you know what? Check out flysupplyclothing.com.
That's what we need.
I know y'all hoes. Y'all hear about to get mad and start flocking. Yeah, stay on his DMs. I'm kidding.
So what they got to do with me?
I'm sorry. We read the DMs together.
That part. Yeah, so we love our listeners, and also we won't be letting you know where to follow Reggie personally.
Yeah, I feel like nobody trusts me then.
We do trust you, baby. You fine, sir. You a fine one. They be like, oh, really? Sex on the regular?
We trust you, and we also want to make sure that we don't put you in harm's way. So we're just
what is it? FlySupplyClothing.com.
Yeah. FlySupplyClothing.com. Check me out there.
Of course, you can follow me at Miss Dani Foster. The website is Dani Foster Coaching for any wellness coaching needs that you have. You can follow our podcast at Triggered AFPC. Y'all, we just refreshed our website, so please go to the website at triggeredafpodcast.com. You can see clips, you can see videos. Go to our YouTube, that's updated too. And you can watch all these wonderful episodes and share them and give them to your Trigger Happy family. Alicia is at Alicia Reese on all the platforms. And we are just so happy that you guys listen to this long ass episode, but it'll be worth it. Because one of the things that we always say to each other is we always want to give hope to people looking for love and who have been broken over and over again, that you will find love again as long as you first love yourself and open yourself up to receive it.
For sure.
Thank you guys for listening. See you next time. Bye. Thank you, baby.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Triggered AF. Remember, don't be consumed by your triggers. Confront it and then work to release it. Whether you leave us more triggered than you came or you're feeling like you've been open to a new perspective, our hope is that you've grown. Make sure to share this episode with a friend who's trigger happy and tag us while you're listening. We can't wait to hear from you. Until next week, pull it together, girl.